After a bitter betrayal by his own brother, a father's rage shattered more than glass. It nearly took his baby's life. When their loyal dog tore away the blanket, he revealed a truth that left the man frozen in guilt. But that same moment of horror would also lead to redemption and the miracle that saved them all. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments, what time is it and where are you watching from? Let's start. Marcus hadn't slept in 3 nights. The documents on the table were still damp from the drink he'd spilled earlier, the ink bleeding like a wound that wouldn't close. His brother's name, Darren, sat on every page, every betrayal spelled out in neat, legal type. "You forged my name," Marcus muttered, voice shaking. "You stole the contracts, sold me out, and now you're suing me for control?" The phone buzzed again. Darren's voice came through, smug. "It's business, Marcus. Grow up. You were too soft." Marcus slammed the phone down. "Soft? I gave you half this company." He stood up so fast the chair toppled behind him. His pulse hammered, anger crawling up his neck. Clara's voice came from the hallway, soft, warning. "Marcus, please don't start again. The baby's sleeping." "I'm done being calm, Clara," he growled. "Done pretending everything's fine." The crystal tumbler in his hand was still half full. He hurled it at the wall. It exploded in a burst of glass and whiskey. Clara screamed, "Are you insane? The crib is right there. I didn't throw it at him." Marcus shouted back, his chest heaving. Tiny shards sparkled on the floor. He crouched, sweeping them quickly with a towel, muttering curses. "See? I got it. It's fine." Clara didn't answer. She just stood over the crib, holding little Eli closer. Max, their golden retriever, barked once and backed away, ears flat, eyes on Marcus. "Don't you start," Marcus snapped at the dog. "You don't get to judge me, too." The house fell quiet again. Too quiet. Clara carried the baby to the bedroom, trying to soothe him back to sleep. Marcus sat on the couch, rubbing his temples. Guilt burned behind his eyes, but pride buried it. Hours passed. Midnight pressed against the windows. The only sound was the soft hum of the baby monitor. Marcus dozed off in the armchair. A low growl woke him. Max stood in the nursery doorway, tail stiff, eyes locked on the crib. "What now?" Marcus groaned, pushing up from the chair. He walked in and froze. Max was tugging at the baby's blanket with his teeth. Slow, deliberate pulls, his paws braced against the mattress. "Hey!" Marcus barked. "Get away from him!" The dog ignored him. Another hard tug. The blanket slipped lower. Marcus lunged forward, grabbing Max by the collar. "I said stop." He yanked him back, and then noticed something dark on the sheet. A stain, small, wet, red. His stomach turned to ice. "Clara!" He threw the blanket aside. The baby whimpered softly. Beneath his white onesie, a tiny cut gleamed near the ribs, thin but deep enough for blood to bead through the fabric. And beside him, half buried under the fold of the blanket, lay a jagged piece of glass. Marcus stared, speechless. The room tilted. "Oh, God, no!" His voice cracked. "No, no, no!" Clara rushed in, hair loose, eyes wide. "What happened?" He could barely speak. "It's the glass. I did this. I left it there." She gasped when she saw the blood. "Marcus, pick him up now." He lifted the baby carefully, hands shaking so hard he almost dropped him. Eli's small body pressed against his chest, warm but trembling. The dog barked once, sharp, insistent, as if saying, "Move." "I yelled at him," Marcus whispered. "He was trying to tell me, and I yelled at him." Clara was already dialing emergency services, voice breaking. My baby's bleeding. Please, please, send help. Marcus stumbled toward the door. Max stayed glued to his side, barking with every step. The night air hit them cold and cruel. Marcus's shirt was streaked with red, his arms locked around the crying baby. He couldn't stop repeating it. I caused this. I caused this. Inside the house, shattered glass still glittered under the lamp, tiny reminders of a single second of rage. And somewhere behind him, Max stood in the doorway, chest rising fast, watching the man finally understand what he had tried to show all along. The ambulance tore through the sleeping streets, red lights splashing across the windows. Marcus sat in the back, clutching Eli against his chest, while a medic worked fast, pressing gauze over the tiny wound. Clara sat opposite, hands locked together, whispering, "Please, please let him be okay." Max had refused to stay home. He jumped straight into the front seat of the ambulance, panting, eyes never leaving the baby. No one had the heart to push him out. At the hospital doors, Marcus stumbled out, arms shaking, shirt soaked with blood and tears. A nurse took the baby from him. The warmth of the small body vanished from his hands, leaving only cold. He tried to follow, but Clara held him back. "They'll take care of him now." Marcus leaned against the wall, face buried in his palms. "I almost killed him, Clara. I threw that glass like a child. If Max hadn't—" She didn't let him finish. "He's still breathing. That's what matters. You fix yourself before you ever raise your voice again." An hour crawled by. A doctor finally stepped out, mask dangling from one ear. "You're lucky," he said quietly. "The shard missed the lung by less than a centimeter. The baby's strong. He'll recover fully." Marcus sagged into the chair, every muscle collapsing. "Thank you," he whispered, voice cracking. When they returned home the next evening, the air felt different, still heavy, but alive again. The crib sat by the window, washed clean, new sheets tucked tight. Max lay beside it, tail thumping softly when he saw them. Clara carried Eli over, kissed his head, and smiled through her tears. "You did good, boy." Marcus knelt beside the dog. "I screamed at you, and you still saved him." His throat closed. "You're a better man than I've been." Max licked the back of his hand once and rested his muzzle on Marcus's knee. Forgiveness in silence. Days passed. The cut healed, the house settled. But Marcus couldn't shake the guilt. He sold the broken glass table, cleaned the floors himself, anything to erase the memory. At night he'd wake, hear the baby breathing, and check twice more just to be sure. Then came the call he never expected. His lawyer again. "You might want to look at your email." Darren's case fell apart. The auditors traced every forged transfer back to him. The board reinstated you as majority owner. You're back in control. For a long moment, Marcus said nothing. He looked at Eli sleeping soundly in his crib, Max curled protectively at his feet. "Back in control," he repeated softly. "But for once, I don't want to break anything to prove it." The next morning, sunlight spilled across the nursery floor. Clara poured coffee and leaned in the doorway. "Feels like we've been given everything back," she said. Marcus nodded. "The business, yeah, but mostly him." He looked down at the baby's tiny fingers wrapped around his, and somehow, I think we were meant to lose control for a while, so I'd learn what matters. He reached down, scratched Max behind the ears. "You knew before I did." "You always do." The dog gave a single low bark, as if answering, and curled closer to the crib. Outside, the city was waking. Somewhere across town, Darren's lawyers were scrambling, but Marcus didn't care. He'd already won the only fight that mattered. His son was alive. His home was whole again. That night, he sat on the porch with Max beside him. The air smelled of rain and clean wood. Inside, Clara hummed softly while the baby slept. Marcus looked up at the dark sky and whispered, "I broke a glass and almost broke my life with it. You picked up the pieces for me, old friend." He reached over, hand resting on Max's head. "You saved my son. You saved me." For the first time in weeks, the house was silent in peace, not fear. The lights dimmed, the dog sighed, the baby dreamed, and the man who once lost everything finally understood what it meant to protect, to rebuild, and to be forgiven. Sometimes the ones we overlook are the ones who save us. This loyal dog saw what no one else could, and gave a father a second chance at life, love, and forgiveness. What would you do if your pet saved your family? Tell us below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more emotional, real stories.